Jessica, for introducing me. No los veo a los panelistas, no veo las
I cannot see the panelists. I cannot see the cameras. I don't know if they're connected or not. I can see Guillermo, Franco, Andres. Yeah, good morning, everyone. Yes, good morning, everyone. I'm here. Hello, how are you guys? Hello, good morning. Good stuff. It would be good if we remove the presentation from the screen so we can see each other's faces. Let's start with this panel. We have experts from Latin America, so we're going to be able to have an interesting discussion. The first question is for Guillermo Sierra from CIFI. Guillermo, you guys are working on funding projects in Chile. You have a very comprehensive approach in a country that has a lot of innovations. They just launched a call for tender that was quite interesting because of the low price, because of the project that is long-term. And it obviously sets kind of an idea of how the price of renewable energy is evolving. In this case, this has not so much to do with a regulated client, but something that is very typical of Chile and something that some countries are starting to imitate, projects of up to 12 megawatts, 10 megawatts, depending on the regulation. Each market is kind of working on projects that are connected to the grid and maybe don't require the infrastructures of a large project. So what do you think about this small scale project? What kind of projects are you seeing? I would like to know your opinion before opening the panel to the rest of the panelists. Firstly, thanks for the organizers for organizing this event. I want to say hello to all the panelists and to the audience. And I'm going to share with you my opinion about what CIFI, which is basically an investment agency that has been operating in the region for 20 years. We have a $500 million portfolio specialized in infrastructures, but also 50% of that portfolio has to do with renewable energies. And this is a part of our portfolio that is evolving. Of that 50%, 30% is related to solar energy. We have accumulated a lot of energy over the last 20 years. And as a result of that, we can operate in a country such as Chile, which is very challenging. One of the most interesting things that I wanted to mention is these small scale projects, less than 9 megawatts. And in that sense, I think it's very important to have a stabilized price. Although this price is linked to the Chilean market, there are a number of peculiarities that benefit the power generator, offering a more stable price as opposed to other markets that depend on other criteria. The most interesting things, in addition to price, is the load dispatcher and also a number of services, as you say, with regards to interconnection, which at the end of the day make these type of projects very interesting. I think here what they did very well in Chile in terms of the developers, and this is something that was supported by the investment agencies, is to kind of pull themselves out of the limitation of 9 megawatts, because 9 megawatts in a country like Chile is not enough. So I think there is with the portfolio structure has been very beneficial, because now there are project portfolios of 100, 150 megawatts, but also projects of like 3 or 5 megawatts. And the developer, through a specific structure and programs, they're able to optimize and to obtain benefits from all these types of projects. So in that sense, CIFI, my organization, was highly committed to this from the very beginning. We supported this sector from the get-go. We supported this approach to doing business. We started in 2016, supporting a Spanish project, a Spanish company that did this type of project. Right now, we have supported 4 so far, and we hope to develop an increasing number of projects in between now and the end of the year, because also there is a change of law that is going to cause many investors to kind of enter this market because they see the benefit. So that's why I'm thinking that between now and the end of the year, we're going to have more projects of this type on the table, Thank you, Guillermo, very much. If we have time later, I will ask you some more aspects related to distributed generation in Mexico. Franco, I would like to know more about this, taxation. I would like to know what you think about the financing conditions, what is expected for renewables over the next few months. Franco, this question is for you, from Itasol, a company from here, from Argentina, but you guys operate not only in Argentina, but in many other countries. I know you guys are working very hard in a number of Latin American countries. Firstly, I would like to know how your business plan is developing in Argentina and Chile and Colombia too. I would like to know kind of specific details before going into the market aspects. Yes. Thank you, Gaston. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the organizers. We're Itasol. We're a company that operates in LATAM, in the Latin American market, mostly in Argentina and Chile. Itasol was created with the idea initially of operating in Argentina, but soon we realized that we had business opportunities in other countries, including Chile, Colombia, and Brazil. And I mean, these 4 countries are very different. It's not the same thing Argentina than Brazil and Chile than Colombia. So over the last couple of years, our business prospects in the different countries are very different. Now, for example, in Colombia, there are incredible business opportunities. They're growing significantly in terms of renewables. Brazil is a very different situation. The distributed generation is brutal. And they present a large number of challenges because of the big size of their solar parks and solar farms. So in the different countries where we operate, we have like local business centers where we try to adapt to the business peculiarities of that market. We like to operate locally. We don't like to run things from Argentina. We like to be there on the ground so that we can be close to our markets and to satisfy their needs. In the near future, we will be opening also a new business office in Peru, Mexico, and Uruguay in the short term. So that's more or less what Itasol is. I would like to ask you a question, since you are specialized in EPC, and later we'll talk with Fabio and Andres about this too. Over the last few years, there were a lot of EPC specialists in the region, and many times they had problems. We had problems with these EPCs because of contract violations. For example, I remember what happened in Chile and some press releases kind of warning people about this situation with the EPCs. So Franco, I would like to know, since you're an EPC specialist, what are the inconveniences of operating with an EPC? How are you overcoming those challenges? What is the difference between an international EPC and a local EPC from Latin America, considering that there are a lot of call for tenders, a lot of projects to be built? I would like to analyze what are the threats and opportunities, but from your perspective, how do you see that? Yeah, clearly, we have some experience in this sense. International EPCs that came to this region, of course, they're very powerful companies, well recognized, and know how to do things well. But Latin America is a different market. It's not so easy to do business in Latin America. And from the outside, very far away, they may think that the Latin America is one thing. But to know our culture, to know our habits, to know the qualification of our labor, of our trade unions, of our suppliers, of our timelines, the imports, etc., it's a different story. So there are a number of barriers, but that doesn't mean those barriers are barriers that cannot be overcome. What that means is that it's not as easy as if you don't have knowledge of each one of the markets here in Latin America. And that's why I want to highlight what I said earlier. That's why we started to grow in the region, because we started to base ourselves on each one of the countries where we're operating with local people, knowing the idiosyncrasies and the business culture of each one of the countries. And that's the added value of my company, our knowledge of the region. What happened for many years is that the large EPCs from many countries worldwide came here to do business, but when they tried to do business remotely, Latin America was very challenging for them. And there is where I think the challenge is. They did some things that were not so good. We lost a lot of resources relating to design and putting things, but then the implementation failed. The design phase was very good, but then the implementation failed because they didn't consider many of the things that you can find on the ground. So that's one of the strengths of my company, that we know the market, that we know that in addition to a very strong design, such as was the case of the international EPCs, you also need to have knowledge how things work here in Latin America. And when that happens, the results are not going to be good. I am not saying that the international EPCs that came here are bad or don't know how to do things. What I'm saying is that Latin America is a market that needs to be understood so you can do a good job, especially in an area such as this one, because we're talking about long-term projects in 20 years and 25 years. It's not enough to have the performance warranty for a year, but the plant has to operate properly for 20 years. Guillermo, I assume, is asking for those warranties in order to fund projects. And to fund projects, you need to consider all aspects, not only the design or to choose the right components or the right technology. It's also a matter of implementing effectively and efficiently, and also to do, to properly operate and maintain the power plant, because no problems are around the corner. Oh, very clear, Franco. That was very clear, very clear. Thank you very much, because the question was difficult to answer. Yeah, it was a difficult question because you had to talk about others, you had to talk about your competitors, but I saw that you responded very well. We also have Fabio, who is in the beautiful city of Medellin in Colombia, who works for EPM. Fabio, everybody's talking about Colombia now. When you talk to anyone in this industry, everyone is talking about what's going to happen with Colombia. There are a lot of expectations or concern with regards to the prices that have been established by Chile, whether that's going to expand to the other countries or not. But that's some kind of an environment in which other countries think that they have to lower the price. I don't know. What is the perspective, or how do you guys see this from Colombia? Whether you are interested in developing any strategic energy project. Hello, thank you very much. Good morning to everyone, to all the other panelists. That's correct. From PM, we're very interested right now in developing this third bid here in Colombia, so that we can participate and collaborate with Enel Energy, so that we can achieve the target that we have for 2025 in terms of power capacity and storage between 400 to 500 megawatts. What are we seeing right now? We're seeing that this is a very interesting opportunity in which energy demand in the country is requiring us, or is demanding this type of projects, because the energy is necessary in this country for this third bid, energy bid. We also think that a very interesting challenge, highly linked to timelines, is the need to comply with very strict timelines, because these timelines will require a very efficient and short implementation. So we are going over each one of these projects to see the feasibility and to kind of know how to best manage the demand and timelines, because that's somehow going to condition how we undertake the projects that we're going to develop. Obviously, we tend to focus on solar energy projects because that's our specialty. All right, Fabio. I'm going to ask you a question, but I'll give you some time so you can answer. Is there any possibility to know how many megawatts you guys are going to roll out in the short time? I don't know if you want to answer the question now, you want to respond later, or you're just going to say you're not going to answer this question. Let's put it in standby, because this is still being assessed. We're in a process of trying to define what is the actual energy capacity and how that's going to be associated with different technologies. Thank you very much. Thank you. Let's introduce now another colleague, Andres Rios from Merco Energia. You're also in Colombia, right? That's correct. Hello, Gaston. Very happy to be here. Thank you, Andres. Likewise. We're going to talk about different things. I would like to talk about distributed generation And let's consider a scenario in which Andres talks to the genie of the lamp, who says that he could organize the meeting that he would like with the Ministry of Energy. You have a meeting with the person in charge of regulating distributed generation in Colombia, and the civil servant asks you, Andres, what do you think is the measure that I should be implemented? What do you think I could improve in order to promote this market that has such a significant potential here in Colombia? What would you tell that person, Andres? Hello, Andres. Gustavo. Thank you for the question. I think the context is perfect. That would be the perfect context. And every day we think about that situation, because as a company operating in the commercial power generation, distributed power generation sector, we have to be fully aligned to what the regulator is doing. So the first thing is for the regulator to understand very well what is their role. Here, the regulator is Craig, and I think everyone in the industry is thankful for how they're doing their job, because what they're doing is not easy. This is a new market technology, but it's also important to understand the role of the regulator, because the regulator has to give certain warranties, but they cannot go into the nitty-gritty of each one of the projects. So that would be the first thing. In other words, to have a general framework, but actually then let the market regulate itself through the demand, the supply, the distributors, etc. That should be determined by the different utilities based on technical things, because when those technical regulations come from the regulator, the regulation becomes so slow and inefficient. That would be the first message. We're in a scenario in which technology is always going to be faster than regulation. So in that sense, we're talking about renewable technologies that we know are cheaper, that can be unfolded much faster than conventional technologies. As you know, because this is something that is not only exclusive of Colombia, it's also general in countries like Argentina or Chile. We see that overnight we have a large penetration of renewables in the market. And then something else that I think is very important is that now we have new stakeholders with new interests in the marketplace. So in that sense, the regulator has to have a very strategic vision, because they need to understand that also technology is going to be faster than the regulations. Having said that, the role of the regulator is to ensure we have a system that ensures power supply with the necessary quality. And as was mentioned earlier by my Chilean colleague, renewable energies could have an impact in terms of frequency, inertia, because and some of them might not be dispatchable. And there is where the regulator may do something. More specifically, in the case of Colombia, we have a very good example. And that is that we did a second bid in which the regulator structured and led everything. But in this third bid, XM is the one that's going to be in charge of it. That's fantastic. Why? Because the rules are already in place, and now it is the market that will regulate and define things. We think that is very good in terms of the macro bid. If we go into the nitty-gritty, into the technical aspects, we also have very interesting experience with energy storage. We had an experience of a previous successful bid in which we awarded the project to a company so that we could have this energy storage capability. We did a pilot project, and now we're going to have to decide whether energy storage is going to be an active role. I will have many more things, many more technical specialties to mention, but I think that's kind of like my overall message, that the regulator needs to understand the role, that they have an experience, but now they need to let the market play its role. I see that Guillermo is taking some notes. I wonder what Guillermo is writing down. I wonder what his notes are. Guillermo, what do you have to say? And Fabio, Franco, if you have anything to add, please jump in. The idea is to have a debate. We have 15 minutes to finish on time. Guillermo, we would like to know what your notes are saying. I was writing down what the other panelists were saying. In relation to what you were saying when it comes to distributed generation, distributed generation is gaining some momentum in a country such as Mexico, for example. The role of CIF in that country is what we did in other countries. Because of the type of experience that we have acquired, we are very innovative. Our role is somehow to open new markets and to prove that certain projects can be funded. I also think that we need to consider the moment in which we are, a key moment for Mexico with our renewable energy market that is growing significantly, that has a political scenario that is kind of uh, against more traditional forms of power generation. So in that sense, distributed generation has somewhat contributed to help a country like Mexico. This is a sector in which we've been working for a while. Early in the year, in the first quarter, we announced the funding of the first distributed generation portfolio in Mexico with a funding of up to 70 million. And I think that was an important message, a message that is paramount into hand. On the one hand, to show investors that financial institutions are going to be supporting this type of projects. And then also the financial institutions, as we have done in other markets. We have somehow kicked the bucket, so to speak, and shown the market that we can be interested in this. The banks are not interested in this. So from CFI, we're very excited about the different markets. I think Mexico is a market we're going to start operating with a lot of developers, because I think at the end of the day, the work that we have done in terms of analysis, analyzing all the different risks, can give us an excellent prospects. The good thing is that we have done this. This is something that has been done. So yeah, I would like to encourage all developers to continue developing the projects. Mexico is a very interesting market comprised of young people, highly qualified, and come on, guys, let's go. Let's try to support Mexico. And from CIFI, certainly, we are willing to do our part. Gaston, I wanted to say something to what you just said. I think, yeah, you were asking me about the market. I think the market is still a little bit too mature, but it's a market that needs to grow. So I think something that we need to pay attention to is the profile of the new projects and also the growth rate. So in terms of technical capabilities, innovation, etc., we're going to have to assess things on a per case basis or on an individual basis. But this is something that I would probably discuss in a meeting if the project of the proposal for a project was on the table. We like to operate, in any case, in the long-term projects. We like to link our projects to PPAs and to work with developers that want long-term projects. That's kind of the profile that we're interested in. And then we have to consider the concept of portfolio, if we perform a number of structural analysis that allows us to work on different market segments and to make this very profitable. So I'm very happy to be participating in this and to answer your questions. Thank you, Guillermo. Because we're talking about developing, we're talking about construction, we're talking about funding. At some point, the projects that are being developed in Chile, Colombia, Mexico, Brazil, Uruguay, Argentina, and all the other countries in Latin America are going to start to be rolled out and to be commissioned. So Franco and Itasol, they're operating some renewable energy parks. I would like you to mention some success story. The park, for example, that we have here in the Salta province that was awarded to an important player in the market. What do you think are the recommendations based on your experience so that they can continue to reduce the capex and to reduce the operations and maintenance costs? This is a very good question. That park that you just mentioned in Salta is an iconic park. It's a very important park. And we're working with the owner, trying to improve and optimize every single step in the project. Based on that, something that I think is very important is what Guillermo and Andres just said. This covers everything. I mean, we have to have a comprehensive approach, and we need to consider the long term and the OPEX. Obviously, Guillermo may be interested in projects in which things are long-term initiatives, trouble-free. And it's also what Andres said, because technologies are evolving increasingly, and all the stakeholders need to be pretty proactive so that they can implement the latest technologies. So what do we learn from O&M in Tafayate? We're developing artificial intelligence and software to see how we can make everything more effective and efficient, to learn from operations and maintenance, so that we can implement that to the actual solar farm development, and then the implementation and construction. Not to forget the commissioning phase, which also needs to be well implemented. So in that sense, the first thing I would like to mention is that we need to exercise our accountability and responsibility during the design phase. Hard work, hand in hand with the manufacturers and the suppliers of main equipment, because they are a key part of the development of this type of projects, and they are also very important when the station needs to be operated and maintained. In that sense, as I was saying, we're working on the development of software with the idea of understanding the overall process so that the park can be developed in the best possible manner and that O&M can be optimized. What we can see is that there is not so much developed in that sense. So in that sense, there is an opportunity for improvement, for growth. We're improving our performance rating. We're working hand in hand with the owner, with the asset manager. I mean, it's a joint collaboration in which everyone contributes their part to make sure this works well. And the long term is very important. You need to be here in the region. You cannot come in and out. These are investments that are here to stay and that need to be monitored closely. What we experience with Cafayate and with any other park that we operate is that you have to work a lot on preventive and predictive maintenance, not only corrective. You need to anticipate things. To anticipate things, you need to analyze the solar park in terms of its design, the technology that was used, and how to improve things step by step. The energy that is lost, that is not generated, is not something that is going to be recovered. So we have to be very proactive in that sense. It's not enough to arrive late. We need to make sure that we have qualified labor. We need to make sure that we use artificial intelligence. We need to make sure that we use digitalization, big data, and software that can read everything right away and interpret data effectively. That's the project in which we're working, and that's what is helping us to grow. We're integrating and mobilizing software with the idea of optimizing our projects in the Latin American region so as to be more active, proactive, efficient, so as to favor the entire power generation chain. There are a lot of comments that I'm getting. So thank you very much for your questions. They're asking, how could we contact you? I would recommend attendees that they could contact Franco on LinkedIn, or Guillermo or Fabio and Andres, in case they want to ask you any question or network with you guys. So if they have anything to say, they can contact you on LinkedIn. We don't have much time. Fabio, Andres, I would like to know what you think so we can wrap this up. When it comes to distributed generation, Fabio, what do you think about it? I know you guys are working a lot on electric mobility. What can you share with us about distributed generation? Yeah. Right now, distributed generation is quite a significant challenge for us in our role as utility, because it kind of sets the pace of the transformation of what a typical utility is. A traditional utility was highly focused on the idea of centralized generation, such as that was our case. And now everything is transformed and is distributed. And that has an effect that at the beginning was something residual, but that is becoming increasingly more evident because of the aggregated distributed power. So as a result of that, we have developed on working solutions applied to distributed generation. We have a solar solution in that sense that is highly focused on residential homes, on small companies, as well as solutions for large business, for large companies, all that also may want to use distributed generation at a more mid-level scale. We did the of satisfying the needs of industrial clients. So industrial clients, some maybe have big facilities, they have roofs or lots of lands, and they want to use those big lots of land, and they want to self-supply themselves. So we're trying to provide them with solutions, because they do not only want to use a renewable energy source, but they also want to open themselves to a number of technologies, a number of solutions, and to open the concept of distributed generation to a number of technologies with the aim of increasing their independence from the grid. Maybe they want to promote, having different sources. They want to be self-sufficient. They want to promote electromobility. They want to have their energy supplier coming from different sources. So we're in a moment in time in which we're trying to position our solar offer for clients, highly focused on industrial and commercial sectors, but reading and trying to understand the needs of our clients, and to look at distributed generation with the idea that maybe we can use different types of technologies, not only solar, we can maybe use other type of technologies. And that is a challenge for us. As a utility, we need to learn to see how we can offer the best solutions and to have a broader scope of other type of energy resources, or even how to interact with aspects related to the demand, in which clients want to have more information, and to connect this with which I just said, with regards to the relevance of analysis, data management, etc., will have in order to favor the position of clients. That's what we want, to develop that little by little, but solidly. Thank you very much, Fabio. I was exchanging some messages with Jessica. Andres, you have the last word, and then we pass the floor to Jessica so she can continue with the event. Thank you, Garzón. Yeah, in line with what Fabio said, as a company, EPC, ERCO, distributed generation has presented a number of challenges, and it is a market that is growing. And since it is a market that is growing, as an EPC specialist, we've learned to try to deliver our clients with the very best product each time. And that's why we're differentiating ourselves, integrating one of our spin-offs, which is NEO, which is an energy distributor, which integrates all the EPC services together with the 100% digital marketing unit, which is what Fabio was saying, using data management to integrate solar and renewable in general, and to reach a better solar energy efficiency so that clients can save money when they involve themselves in this type of projects. We're doing well, we're growing, this is developing well, and we think that the impact is positive on the market. Thank you, Andres, Guillermo, Andres, Fabio. Thank you so much for your participation. Thank you for your talk. Jessica.
We continue, it's okay.
Okay.
Well,
gracias, thank you so much, Or.
Gracias.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Gracias.
Muchas gracias.
Gracias, hasta luego.
hasta luego.
Bye.